Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope everyone is doing okay. I know this is a late night. There's several videos I wanted to get to because these were big news days. The issues that was taking place with Trump and Russia in Helsinki, that's one. Also the things that was taking place in the UK, that was another one. Also an interview with Michael Tracy, and I was on Gordon Mack's channel, so I didn't necessarily get to everything I wanted to. I'm going to do two videos on Trump and Russia. I'm sorry, I'm getting congested. Let me check my volume and sound first to make sure my sound is straight. Hope everyone is having a decent night. It's late. If you're up, it's like late night with Mr. Thomas. That's what I should call it, late night with Mr. Thomas. I'm going to split this video up in two parts. The first video, I just want to talk about media and what has been taking place in the United States with the standpoint of Trump and Russia. It is unprecedented in my lifetime, let me say it that way, where reality has been thrown out the window to such a degree. And people are existing in this weird cult-like phenomena where any notion of good sense has been thrown out the window for hysteria. And the media has raised the volume of what is, for all intents and purposes, a hypothesis that has not been proved in the least, and is acting as if that hypothesis has become the word of God. Meaning this idea of Trump and Russia has morphed from Trump and Russia collusion to Russia attacked democracy itself. It's an amazing thing to watch. It's an amazing thing to see. And if I was watching from the side of the moon, this would be a little bit more fascinating than what it is, seeing as I've lived in this mosh pit of lunacy and hysteria for the past 2 years. Donald Trump meets Vladimir Putin today, and the collective asses of media and the political class suck up. Look at their commentary. I'm going to show you a portion of the video, a video that was cut by The Guardian, and so I would imagine The Guardian is going to show their worst. Look at this president, this treasonous president. I'm going to show you the pieces. I got to be honest. What I've seen today, I said, that's good. I approve. I approve what was said. I don't think you should trust intelligence services just willy-nilly, especially when those intelligence services have the capacity to hack into other people's countries or systems and make it look as if another country was responsible for it. I think what he asked, meaning Trump asking about the servers, was right, because it's true. Trump should have met Vladimir Putin because other world leaders tend to meet one another. Why not Trump? You guys have no proof of what you guys are pushing. You guys are pushing a hypothesis, or at best, I would call it a conspiracy theory. There's no reason for them not to meet. You haven't proven your case one iota. And replacing volume, meaning screaming, it's not the same thing as actually demonstrating it, even though that has been what has taken place. This idea of reality has been replaced by volume. Let me show you what people have been saying, that this is a special kind of lunatic. Tom Perez, indictment of the 12 Russian officers. This is an act of war. This is an act of war. Tom Perez, he's ready to put on a hat and go grab a musket. Senator Richard Blumenthal, we are facing a continuing act of war by Vladimir Putin. This is an act of war. Grab your muskets. I wonder, is Blumenthal and Tom Perez, I wonder if they're going to suit up. You think they're going to suit up? What about $100 million Nancy Pelosi? You think she's going to grab a musket? Every single day, I find myself asking, what do the Russians have on Donald Trump personally, financially, and politically? The answer to that question is that only thing that explains his behavior and his refusal to stand up to Putin. Hashtag a better deal. Nobody knows what the better deal is, Nancy. Nobody knows what the better deal is. Hey, I know a better deal. How about you not having $100 million in your bank account? That's a better deal. That money can be spread out to people who actually need it. Not necessarily it's just sitting there. How about that? If you want to talk about a hashtag better deal. Let's keep going. Daily News. Open treason. Donald Trump shooting Uncle Sam in the head holding the hands of a shirtless Vladimir Putin. And they gave him saggy boobs at that. They gave him saggy boobs at that. Look at a few of these. Joe Biden. Trump behavior was beneath the dignity of the presidency. Where's John McCain's? John McCain had one out where John McCain was talking crazy. Mind you, John McCain was for one war after the next. John McCain has been for every war imaginable. And yet, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? All right, well, you get my point. There's more. I mean, you can go through the list. But my Twitter feed has been inundated with these people screaming bloody murder about something that's happened to America. Right here. Republicans turn to Trump for refusing to denounce Russia meddling. I saw John McCain's reply. John McCain talking about it was beneath the dignity of the office. He said something to that effect also. Right here. Brett Baer of Fox News calls the press conference surreal, while his network colleague Britt Hume called Trump's reference to the probe into Hillary Clinton's private email server to deflect questions about Russia interference as a lame response, to say the least. What about a true response? What about a true response? It's aggravating. President Trump's decision to side with Putin over the intelligence agencies is disgraceful and detrimental to our democratic principles, Romney said in a tweet. Russia remains our number one geopolitical adversary, claiming a moral equivalency between the United States and Russia not only defies reason and history, it undermines the national integrity and impairs our global credibility. I hate to tell you this, Mitt, your global credibility was cratered already, long before Donald Trump took office. These people are hysterical. And these people, for the most part, just don't want to push against a particular tide, and that tide is going in a very specific direction that Trump was somehow, Trump and Russia, that Trump doesn't necessarily want to condemn Russia for something that Russia supposedly has done to us. They besmirched us. It's as if America was standing somewhere just by herself, not minding anybody's business, and Vladimir Putin came along and lifted up her skirt and grabbed her inappropriately. Now, you could flip this if you want to say that Lady Liberty is Mr. Liberty, but either way, you get my point. They're acting as if something has taken place that has actively attacked us. Now, here's the thing. You must understand, if you're looking at this from outside of the United States, everyone in this is a political actor. Meaning, it's not one story or another story. There's probably a few stories that are intermeshed here in regards to the way people are acting and why people are taking a particular disposition versus another disposition. Donald Trump could never and will never, I could be wrong, I may eat my words, but he will never bend the knee on this point. It's not because Donald Trump wouldn't necessarily flip to say, yeah, the intelligence services are great. If he could get the opportunity, he would do it in a heartbeat, providing it did not go after the idea that he won this presidency on his own steam. If Donald Trump comes out and says, yes, Russia hacked us, Russia has something to do with it, then it would be implicit in that Donald Trump did not get elected on his own steam. No president would ever come out to say such a thing. I was elected, but I was elected because of foreign interference. By getting Donald Trump to say such a thing, and by agreeing with the intelligence services that Russia tried to hack us and Russia had Facebook and Twitter ads, that the idiot John Podesta was so stupid he couldn't keep his account straight from somebody sending a spearfishing thing, then you understand that from the standpoint of Trump and from the standpoint of his supporters, Donald Trump didn't win on his own merits. Donald Trump won because of a foreign adversary doing something to get him over the finish line. That looks bad, and he's not going to do that. Now, so from a political space, he's stuck in a situation where he can't necessarily acquiesce to what they're telling them to acquiesce to. This is not any principled stand per se that Donald Trump is taking. This is a stand that Donald Trump is taking because he politically has to take that stand. I hope that makes sense. It's not him holding a torch for anything great and noble. It's him holding a torch to keep himself warm. It's a difference in those things. From the other standpoint, you have a politically motivated thing where you have the Democratic Party, who going back all the way to 2015 has talked about using Russia to attack Trump and WikiLeaks emails. Now, on election night, when Hillary Clinton lost to reality show hosts, when it became clear that she had lost to reality show hosts, when the most qualified woman on the planet lost to the guy that was firing has-been celebrities an hour, a year or two prior to him running in the race, Hillary Clinton interacted, at least according to Shattered, with her campaign team and told them to go out there and make people realize that it wasn't that she failed miserably to a reality show host, it was Trump and Russia. That Russia had something to do with it, that it wasn't her failure alone, it was Russia. And they went out there and they pushed this narrative. Now you can understand why regular Democrats would take this narrative, because their paradigm of the world doesn't explain how a reality show host can beat who they were told by liberal media was the most qualified woman in the history of candidates. How on earth can that woman lose to this guy? We were told by Huffington Post that she was going to win by 98%, or she had a 98% chance of winning. They were told that on the night she lost. Now, how does your paradigm of the world square that? How do you square that? Donald Trump is so gross and over the top that ultimately you can hit him and put pretty much anything on him and your worldview will be somewhat assuaged. And the moment that they add Russia into it, I don't think this is that much different than Republicans calling Obama a Nazi. Not a Nazi, I'm sorry, socialist or communist. All of these words that they like to throw at him. They, socialist, communist, Marxist, terrorist, that's another one. Muslim, oh, that's a good one that they used to like to use. There's something else that sticks in their throat that they can't quite get out. But the other words, come out. This is not that much different than that. Ultimately, it's them using anything they can find to hit Donald Trump with. And if the Russia thing comes up with, then fair enough, I hate his guts, so Russia it will be. Their paradigm of the world to some degree is assuaged by using a different reason for Hillary Clinton losing. Why did she lose? Russia. Fine, let's go with it. Russia did it. The media has its own motivations. I suspect there are two. Michael Tracy kind of made a really good point for one, saying that they believe that they're somehow saving the world. That Donald Trump is going to eat babies and kick puppies. He's going to have animals and biting animals and laughing and shaking hands with Vladimir Putin as he does it. If you're the media and you buy the narrative, say you buy into the narrative, you say, God, this guy is over the top and this guy is gross and we're holding back the night by essentially pushing this narrative and throwing objectivity out the window. Media tends to be obsequious in times of war. That tends to follow the main narrative of you could say, the ruling party per se, that's in the wartime. If they get into their headspace that this is what they're doing, then yeah, they're going to follow this narrative, and you're only going to need a few to follow the narrative before it just becomes this is the way reality is. And since media has a megaphone, reality matters less. The megaphone that you can scream in, meaning the volume that you can put to a story, makes it seem like there's an actual story there, when the only thing that you really have there is just people screaming about it. Let's take a look at this clip. And by the way, lefties are not immune to this, meaning people who call themselves progressives. I mean, ultimately, we hate this idea that they're going to try to use Russia to obfuscate from their own failures. Meaning Hillary Clinton lost on her own merits. She lost because she chose Tim Kaine. She lost because she was Hillary Clinton and she decided to run in a race where the majority of the country hated her guts when the race first started. She lost for a myriad of reasons. Russia wasn't one of them. Let's take a look at this clip real quick. And I'm going to split the video. I saw nothing in this clip, however, that bothered me. I suspect I agree with everything that Trump said, or I agreed with everything Trump said here. I haven't watched the entirety of the debate of the thing. I'm going to watch that in a few. But in the spotty clips that they gave, the cut clips, the clips that are supposed to put fear in the hearts of most people, I agree with them. Good job. That's my president saying that. Good fucking job. And by the way, I think Trump is gross as can be. I'm one of the people who thinks he's extraordinarily gross. But on this, I agree with him, even if his reasonings to get to these positions is not necessarily how I got to the same position.
Now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
All I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be. I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. The probe is a disaster. And
I imagine if your name is Donald Trump and you're talking to Vladimir Putin, from a political standpoint, you do need to get something out of that. I mean, again, you do need to make it look as if something is taking place. I mean, I can't just go there and not talk about this at all. Vladimir Putin offering to allow the people to come to Russia to talk. That's nice. I mean, that I gotta be honest, I don't think that means anything. Even if the FBI investigators come to Russia and have a conversation with them, what are they going to get out of it? I mean, if they say, hey, we found something versus we didn't find anything. From the standpoint of the offer, it's a decent offer. If I was Putin, I'd make the same offer. Does the United States take them up on it is more interesting. That's more interesting. It's a decent offer. But again, I suspect it's politically motivated. You have nothing to lose from offering something like that. You have everything to gain from it because will the United States take you up on that particular offer? Will the FBI take you up on the offer? I don't know, but it's a decent offer. It's a nice political thing. Let's keep going.
And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. The probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated. There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it.
As to who is to be believed and to who is not to be believed, you can trust no one if you take this. Where did you get this idea that President Trump trusts me or I trust him? He defends the interest of the United States of America, and I do defend the interest of the Russian Federation. We should be guided by facts. Could you name a single fact that would definitively prove the collusion? This is utter nonsense.
What happened to the server? What happened to the servers of the Pakistani gentlemen that worked on the DNC? Where are those servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? 33,000 emails gone, just gone. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
I called him a competitor, and a good competitor he is. And I think the word competitor is it's a compliment. I think that we will be competing when you talk about the pipeline. I'm not sure necessarily that it's in the best interests of Germany or not, but that was a decision that they made.
I believe that Russia is a democratic state, and I hope you're not denying this right to your own country. You're not denying that United States is a democracy. Do you believe United States is a democracy? And if so, if it is a democratic state, then the final conclusion in this kind of a dispute can only be delivered by a trial.
If that's the worst that The Guardian can do in regards to cutting that clip, there's nothing in that clip that I disagree with. Nothing at all. I see that clip and I think, yeah, I want to know where those servers are too. And yeah, if we were supposedly attacked, if this was an attack on democracy, if this is Pearl Harbor and Neville Chamberlain and 9/11, I mean, this talks about World War II. That Neville Chamberlain essentially was a British prime minister that stood by as Hitler took more and more land. Well, I mean, come on. this gets me to my last point. Even if everything they say is true, even if everything they say is true, even if everything they say is true, I want to nail that down. Even if they're saying Vladimir Putin told somebody or a group of hackers to go and hack Hillary Clinton's emails and hack John Podesta's emails and release that factually true information showing that Hillary Clinton was cheating Bernie Sanders, that the Clinton Foundation was a slush fund. Even if that is true, even if all of it is the word of God, so what? So what? Why do I care? Why do I care? Do you understand? You're acting as if the United States is sitting here not doing anything to anybody. Like I said, it's standing here on the corner and somebody just ups your skirt in the breeze and fondles you inappropriately, missing the point that the United States is a habitual groper. Are you serious? We just destroyed a country in the last president, under the last president. I'm trying to get this across. You're saying that spearfishing is somehow an attack on democracy. I don't quite understand the mechanism for anger. I think ultimately what it boils down to is we do this constantly and nobody is bothered by it. When I think it was Clapper was sitting, it wasn't Clapper, one of the spooks that was sitting on Fox News talking to Laura Ingraham. And when Laura Ingraham brought up whether or not we do this, giggled like a schoolgirl. Only when it's for the best interest. We do it all the time. We're doing it right now in Iran. We're trying to overthrow the government of Iran. We're doing it right now in Nicaragua and Venezuela. We do it all the time. How is this argument being made? How are these people saying this with a straight face? An attack on democracy? Are you serious? Are you serious? The United States and Russia has 90% of the nuclear weapons on this planet. I think it's nonsense, first, that they're using any mechanism of anger in which, this happened to us. We were just standing here doing nothing and this happened to us. Ultimately, what it boils down to is we do it to other people, but we hate it when it happens to us. And that's even assuming that their hypothesis is correct. Even if I give you the benefit of the doubt, you still end up in this place of, so what? Cheated Bernie Sanders. You don't get to cheat Bernie Sanders and then complain that somebody cheated you. That's the first point. And the second point, you've destroyed governments. Multiples. You've overthrown governments. You've used CIA tools in order to undermine governments. I keep making this point that I don't quite understand the mechanism of anger that people are using to be outraged by this. And yet, outrage, they remain. I saw something here from the audience. Danny Knapp, they're accusing the Russian government of crimes. It's like asking the DNC to investigate if Bernie Sanders got robbed. Decent offer my ass. Decent offer my ass. Agreed, Danny Knapp. Agreed. Joe Treaso, gaming is so much more intelligent than you. Should stop conversation right now. Oh God, you guys are arguing with one another. Look, my point is, if you're looking at this from outside of this country, what you're seeing is fake outrage. These people are not as angry as they seem. They're screaming because they want people to believe that there's a fire. Essentially, smoke this fire. They're screaming. They want the volume to get across this idea of a reality, the volume itself to create the reality. The reality, when you dig into it, is not fully there. Donald Trump likes strongmen. Doesn't criticize Netanyahu. Doesn't criticize Erdogan. He doesn't criticize, I can't think of the guy's name in the Philippines. And considering the policies that Trump has been pushing, whether it's arming Nazis in the Ukraine, that in and of itself goes against Putin, seeing as they're using those weapons to kill Russians, or whether it's continuing the bombing in Syria. These things are against the aims of Vladimir Putin. They act as if everything Donald Trump is doing is some kind of Putin robot. They miss those things, or they wrap those things in a conspiracy theory. This is all politically motivated in order to attack Trump. Whether the media is doing this because the media feels like they need to do this, or whether the media is doing this because it puts asses in seats, I don't know. But everybody is politically motivated in the way they're going about their affairs with this particular story. And there are plenty of intersecting storylines that's pushing and influencing behavior. So just be aware, if you're looking at this, the hysteria surrounding this is nonsense. Even if it's true, it's nonsense. Even if it's true, it's nonsense. All right, I'm going to end this because I do want to get to another one, and I may not necessarily get to it tonight. It is clear to everyone with half a brain that isn't a complete shield for Trump that Russia tried to swing the election his way, the committed crimes in doing so. Okay, prove it. This is the thing that people keep getting to. It's the evidence. These things are assertions. It's clear to everyone. Okay, make it clear to me. Prove it to me. Nail it down to me. What are you using to nail this down? Because in the case that Mueller put out, those are just assertions, with the evidence being hidden behind the scenes. I don't want a war with Russia, but we have to reward them for their behavior. No, it's just you need to nail down their behavior. Read the last incidents, Jamal. Okay, what are the last incidents? Where is it, Joe? What are the basic facts that I'm ignoring? Okay. Joe, I'm looking for your stuff. Hold on. Come on. Yeah, I don't see anything you're saying that's giving up anything. Stop locking up journalists and political opponents and killing others. That I agree with you on. Look, that I agree with you on. Don't misunderstand me. This has nothing to do with whether Vladimir Putin is a good guy. It's nothing to do with whether Putin is a good guy. This is more about just being honest. We have hacking tools that essentially are aimed at every other country around the world. It's a little bit amazing to make the argument that Russia hacking us is 9/11, or Russia hacking us is somehow akin to Pearl Harbor. Please tell me you agree that that's nonsense. Please tell me that you agree that's nonsense. Joe, look at the context. They're basically running political tribunals at this point. Mueller should be out of government, period. It's hilarious anyone on the left supports Mueller. By the way, the guy who sold 9/11. I suppose that if we had Twitter back then, Joe, you'd be out here telling us that, no, man, anybody with half a brain will believe that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. When any charges against Cambridge Analytica. Oh, dude, you're killing me on this one. Krillin 876. When any charges against Cambridge Analytica. I don't know what that, Joe, that one is all over the place. I'm sorry, Krillin, that one is all over the place. I worked at the FBI for 10 years. So what? That doesn't prove anything. That just says you worked at the FBI for 10 years. We're looking for evidence. Mueller has no credibility. There are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I watch that video every time I see Mueller. I don't, actually. I'm just saying. I watch it in my head. Our intelligence agencies can take whatever they want. Check out Bill Binney and what he said on the record about WikiLeaks stumps. Yes. Bill Binney is awesome. I can't believe people are trusting Mueller. David Kapoor, honestly, after 9/11 and weapons of mass destruction, I don't know why anybody is trusting the intelligence services to the degree that they are. I suspect, again, that this has something to do with we like the politics of what's taking place in the intelligence services that is aimed at Donald Trump. That's what I think. Weapons of mass destruction in Russia. Most people in the intelligence community didn't believe Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, certainly not nukes. I was working at the FBI building at the time, and they thought he had chems, but nothing more. And yet, from the standpoint of media, and from the standpoint of what was being pushed, he had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That was the mainstay. They fired Donahue when Donahue was trying to push this thing. Steven Seagal, not Steven Seagal, Jesse Ventura was put on ice when Jesse Ventura had a disposition that was against the war. I'm making the point to you that in the same volume that people are using, and again, 2 points. I don't care if they did it, because we do the same thing to everybody around the world anyway. Releasing factually true information from John Podesta is not the same thing as attacking democracy. Can we at least be clear that those things are different? Can we at least be very, very clear? The opposite of trusting Mueller is not wanting a president to get cut by Putin. Shaking my head. Our president got played like a fiddle because of this frail ego. Well, I mean, come on. He's a reality show host having a conversation who used to be a KGB operative. That's what you got. That's what you got. That's the pairing. Now, what do you think is going to take place in that pairing? What do you think is going to take place in that pairing? This is kind of what I'm getting at. I'm not... Look, several things can be true at the same time. I would have not necessarily preferred Donald Trump to be there talking to Vladimir Putin. I would prefer that to be Bernie Sanders. Now, beyond it being Bernie Sanders, it wasn't Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders was cheated in the last election. I know he was cheated in the last election because factually true information was released showing that Bernie Sanders was cheated in the last election. Some people in intelligence services says it's a leak. Joe here believes it's a hack. I personally don't care which it is. I don't care. Beyond not caring which it is, because we do the same thing, which one it is, because we do the same thing all around the world. I can't complain if we ourselves do the same thing. It released information that I and the rest of the public needed to make a decision on an election. If people took that factually true information and made a different choice, then it showed its relevance. Fact is, Hillary Clinton was lying and didn't want people to see certain things about her campaign that impeaches her credibility. You can say the same thing was true about Donald Trump. That's probably true. But Donald Trump was an overt liar. I don't know why anybody trusted Trump or anything, but here we are. On the second point, a KGB goon is in a room with a reality show host. What do you think is going to take place? What do you think happens? Just saying. I guess my point is, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I can't say it how many times. I don't care. We do the same thing. And you're telling me that somebody, having their stuff hacked or their information spearphished is attacking on democracy. That's not an attack on democracy. I'm sorry, it's not. You can say it that way any way you want. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. Wesley Walker, dude, you're still on? Fuck, I'm late to the party. No, Wes, I just got back on. Maybe I got on like an hour, 30 minutes ago. This one is not going to be as long. We got into a conversation on the Trump and Putin thing. Just making the point that, A, I don't care if it is true, meaning if Russia did have something to do with it. But we still haven't seen anything that says they did. I mean, there's nothing. A narrative is being pushed. But the same people who pushed the 9/11 narrative are now pushing this narrative. They come out the woodwork in order to push this narrative. And they're going hysterical with Donald Trump meeting Putin. Now, they're telling me that Mueller is not a political actor, and yet Mueller is releasing that information out a few days before Donald Trump's meeting as a political actor. If you're telling me you're apolitical, then don't act political. Then don't act political. Bernie said nothing about the primary rigging in multiple states. That's true. That's what the impetus of this. Putin hated Hillary Clinton and wanted anyone to win but her. But I don't know that, Joe. That's what, and then I think that's what I am getting at, and that's what others, I think, that are saying we don't know this are getting at. You don't know that. You don't know that. Ultimately, this has just been asserted, but you don't know it. Austin Zappas, Trump sucks and water is wet, but folks at the top are robbing you and expanding your critical thinking skills. Fight. Yes, both things can be true. Donald Trump could be horrible. And to some degree, I think all of this is political theater to hide from actual real issues. This is obfuscation. That's why I don't like this issue. I hate talking about this issue at this point. It feels like a waste of space or a waste of time to talk about this issue. You have a certain group that would never hear you about the reality of this issue. And this goes both ways, lefties or rights. So I don't care enough to talk about it. I don't think it swung the election. I think it's somewhat of a non-issue. By the same token, Democrats want to talk about anything other than why they lost. And so we have this issue being dragged for the last 2 years. And even Rothstein's own thing said they haven't seen a situation where there were Americans involved in it. So even if they are right, he somewhat excluded Trump from this mix. Do we do this to other countries? Yes or no? And if that answer is yes, how are we complaining? What leg do we have to stand on? What leg do we have to stand on? When any charges came, I guess, analyzed, people have to make a choice on who they trust more. Do you basically trust everyone in the intelligence community, in Congress, and in the media who believe Russia did this? Or Trump? That's not really the question. I mean, Donald Trump has his own reasoning for doing it. The thing is not necessarily to trust Trump. The thing is, do you believe the people in the intelligence community? Hey, I believe that when they said they were weapons of mass destruction, how was I burned? How was I burned? Now, the question to you is, do you believe everything that the people in the intelligence community says without any critical thinking skills? If that answer is yes, then there you go. What I do know is Comey has been in office saying that Loretta Lynch pushed him to talk about this stuff a particular way. I do know that Comey essentially helped Hillary Clinton to get off. I know that much. I know Strzok altered the meaning or the text in the document in order to get that case brought down, and Comey essentially used a standard that didn't necessarily exist. I mean, what I know is that the standard that Comey used, let me say it this way. There's somebody sitting in prison now, Nakamura, for doing essentially what Clinton did, that Comey said that no reasonable prosecutor would go after. Now, if the same people were involved in the case that got Clinton off, all of a sudden get Trump on, how am I supposed to look at that? Am I supposed to look at that and honestly say there is no potential chance that you have certain people who thought Donald Trump was the doom bringer to this society and needed to act in order to prevent that from taking place? People like to think that nothing ever takes place from the standpoint of people getting together and making decisions. They say, oh God, that can never take place. Why? We're supposed to believe that a conspiracy has taken place from the standpoint of Vladimir Putin attacking the democratic process with all of these hackers and all this other stuff, like a Tom Clancy novel. But not the other way. Look, people can choose what they believe on this. It doesn't matter one iota. Ultimately, what boils down to is this is political theater to obfuscate from real issues. At the very least, the issue of healthcare and education is something the Democratic Party doesn't necessarily want to talk about. Lefties do. Democrats don't. They prefer the Trump and Russia narrative because the Trump and Russia narrative allows a certain amount of obfuscation from real issues. That's what I think, which is why I hate talking about this issue. I don't even want to listen to the press conference, if I'm being honest. And then the question becomes, what do you do if you're right? Say you're right. Say it is Russia. Say Russia has certain aims, whatever those aims are. I would imagine all countries have certain aims of expanding their influence, or at the very least weakening others that have been putting pressure on them. What do you do? What do you do? When you yourself do cyber attack, what precedent do you want to try to set with Russia that you don't necessarily want to be used against you when you cyber attack and destroy these countries? This is what I mean. This is a nonsense conversation. The premise is preposterous. The premise by itself is preposterous. I mean, Jesus Christ, we've been talking about this shit for 2 fucking years. And again, they didn't even give their servers to the FBI. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like when Trump brought that up saying they didn't even give their servers a cloud strike, to the FBI, he was right. He was right. The sad part is that mainstream media is making Trump a victim. You know what's wild about that, Krilly? And when I looked at that, I thought the same way. And I don't even like Trump. I can't stand his ass. And I looked at the media coverage and I thought to myself, these people are lunatics. These people are lunatics. Our narrative accomplishes many things, increases military spending, for example. Yeah, the order of chaos. How is the United States in competition with Russia? The EU has far more economic and conflicts because it's not about the conflict of the United States. Don't look at it from the standpoint of the United States. Ultimately, you're talking about party politics. There is an international thread to this. But ultimately, what you're talking about from the standpoint of the United States is not U.S. policy. You're talking about internal political dynamics of the Democratic Party trying to cow a base that it feels is trying to take over, you can say, the establishment or what's considered to be the established order. That's what this is. Russia is the thing that they're pivoting against to try to put that down. Russia is not necessarily the full object of this. Russia is the thing that's being used in this case to settle political grievances at home. Don't look at this from the standpoint of the United States as if it's a singular thing. It's not. This is party politics. It's just my thought. Pelosi already said not to impeach, and the Democrats give Trump power, more and more power every day. So what will you do indeed? Well, I'd stop this shit and start talking about things that actually matter. If you want to go against them legally, the emollients clause is right there. But if you're going to use that, you're going to be held to that particular standard. And an impeachment will rip this country in half. It would rip it in half. Even Britain doesn't have free college. If you want free college, then you need a tax rate of 50%. Britain used to have free college. Or at the very least, Britain used to have free college for certain people of a particular thing. Meaning if you made a certain amount, you get college for free. They used to. You have a bunch of neo-libs who've taken over. It's such a dumb strategy. Well, Garden, I don't think they're using the strategy because they love the strategy. I think they're using the strategy because it gets them two things. A, Hillary Clinton didn't lose on her own merits. I think that's foremost, more important than pretty much anything else. She didn't lose on her own merit. She lost because of Russia. Russia did something nefarious. Russia, this malevolent actor working in the background that has an economy like the sixth of our size or something, some ridiculous amount, and spends a military budget, all the way down, like we're far, far below many of our allies. Only in this country, man. They made this thing up to be a specter, and the specter is not real at all. Creative experiments. Donna Brazile revealed that the DNC was bankrupt, so in a way, Hillary saved the DNC. Hillary will cash in her favor when she runs again. Creative experiment. Hillary cashed in her favor in that last run. She cashed in her favor in that last one. She cheated. We all saw it, and she lost. Austin Zappas. Yeah, I'm going to end it on that. She cheated. We all saw it, and she lost. I love that. I love that. I didn't skip your super chat. I am silent. I didn't skip your super chat. What are you talking about? Hold on. Let's see. What am I missing? Unless you're talking about a different video. Ask Tracy about his Seth Rich CNN hit piece. I didn't see that. Siler. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I missed that. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. That interview with Tracy was a rough one. I fucked up in that interview pretty badly. Russia has a GDP in New York. They actually spend quite a bit in percentage in terms compared to the United States. New York is just one state. We have 50 states. That's kind of my point. Bob, I did read yours, Bob. I read yours, Bob. All right, I'm going to end this. Chris Crow, cut military spending. Yes. So, Joe, we spend like $1 trillion a year on the military. You can cut that in half. The United States will still be spending more than any other nation by far. I think like twice as much because China spends like $200 billion. And with the other half, you could pay for a jobs program, a job guarantee, college, and healthcare. Like the amount of money that is going to the top 1% is astonishing in this country. And yes, you can afford all of those things if the country prioritizes those things. And yeah, I'm glad you agree. Russia has the GDP of New York. There are 50 states. New York is just one, which kind of gets across the scale from the standpoint of a threat that they are demand, or the threat they should demand. See, I'm gonna end on that. She cheated. She lost. End of story. Can we move on to real things? That's what I want to know. So, I'll end this here. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone. And we